Recently, we talked about Jim Delgatti. This is the franchisee of McDonald's who is credited with creating the Big Mac. The official McDonald's story is that he created it in the kitchen of a McDonald's on McKnight Road in Ross Township back in 1965. So I posted the video the other day, and then Ron Brown commented, I think it was a worker who created the Big Mac, and he never got credit for it, and instead it was the owner. According to this blog, Jim Delgatti had a rule at all of his McDonald's that whenever a priest came in or a cop, you were to give him whatever he wanted. The local police captain said that Jim was friends with all the cops and that they would arrive towards the end of the day when McDonald's was getting ready to close and they had all the extra food and they could take enough food home for their entire family. This got tiring for most of the cops, with one exception. Ronald Cut Curry. He got his nickname Cuts because he was very fond of eating cold cuts. Legend has it that one night Cuts was finishing up patrol at the very end of the night and he arrived at McDonald's and he said, hey, give me a burger, throw an extra patty on it, put some pickles, put onions, put everything you got on this burger. And he took it, picked it up, took a big bite and said, man, now that's a Big Mac. And because of this moment, some people credit Curry with being the inventor of the Big Mac. Now this story was confirmed by Curry's son on a blog that he posted just after Jim Delgatti passed away. So the claim is that the inventor of the Big Mac was a cop. So did Jim Delgatti steal the Big Mac? Yeah, but probably not from Curry. Later in his life, Jim admitted that he stole the Big Mac idea from the chain Bob's Big Boy.
Bob's Big Boy makes great hamburgers and lots of good things to eat.
And they had taken a bun, cut it into thirds, and really, that middle bun is kind of the main ingredient, the secret to the Big Mac. Otherwise, the ingredients would all slide around. The Big Boy had been invented in Bob's Pantry in Burbank, California, all the way back in 1938 when a bunch of big band members had come into the restaurant and they said, hey, we're super hungry and we want something brand new. It was cutting that bun in 3 pieces that was the important ingredient to that sandwich, and then became the important ingredient in the Big Mac. Now, Bob's Big Boy was a nationwide chain at this point, but McDonald's was so insanely popular that this made the Big Mac feel revolutionary to everyone across the country. The Big Mac was an immediate smash hit, and by the next year, it accounted for over 18% of McDonald's total business. It went on to inspire copycats when it in turn was a copycat. One of these was a sandwich that you could buy at Big Shef. At the time the Big Mac was released, Big Shef was the #2 fast food chain in the country. They had 1,200 locations, which put them just 400 locations behind McDonald's. They rolled out their version of the Big Mac and they called it the Big Chef.
Open wide, America. Burger Chef's got thick, juicy, terrific burgers for you.
Look at it. A delicious double-decker hamburger with the extra bun. Now, some people also assume that the Whopper was an answer to the Big Mac, but it actually debuted over a decade earlier. The very first McDonald's Brothers restaurant opened all the way back in 1940 in Southern California, but it was just a single burger stand until Ray Kroc came in the picture and they ended up franchising the company in 1955. Burger King had started in 1953.
This is a Burger King town. It's made just for me. This is a Burger King town. We know how burgers should be.
I love this vintage ad. Got a minute, get a meal. This is from 1998. They were one of the first companies to do the prank April Fool's Day, and in the newspaper they put out a giant full-page ad that they had released a left-handed Whopper where they had put all the ingredients in a manner that if held with the left hand rather than the right hand, it would taste better. And in 2022, for Pride Month, they introduced a Pride Whopper where you had 2 top buns or 2 bottom buns. I'm not making this up. That's a real...
Ronald, see you tomorrow.
Now in 2019, they actually made an answer to the Big Mac, which they called the Big King. Burger King also had a double Supreme Burger, which had a middle bun, back in 1997, and they did a series of commercials directly trolling McDonald's. They had one commercial where they had a big guy named Mac, and he tried their burger.
They don't call me Mac because I drive this truck, and they don't call me Big because I like small portions. So when they said, Big Mac, you got to try this new double Supreme Burger, I was all mouth.
They also had another commercial where a young man was talking about how wonderful this burger was and just gushing and singing the praises of it until it pans up and you reveal his hat. He was a McDonald's worker. But you know, this was 15 years after McDonald's had sued Sarah Michelle Gellar for doing a Burger King commercial. In the commercial, a 5-year-old Sarah Michelle Gellar lets out the claim that Burger King has 20% more beef in their burgers. And the commercial was revolutionary because she was calling out their competitor by name. This was something that was not done back then. McDonald's didn't sue Burger King, though. They sued her directly, which is bizarre. This reminds me of the commercials that played in 2014. Taco Bell had just rolled out their breakfast menu, and so they hired a bunch of guys named Ronald McDonald to try their food. By the way, McDonald's actually lost the exclusive rights to the name Big Mac in Europe this year. And it's because of Supermac. This is a fast food chain out in Ireland that opened back in 1978, which was 1 year after McDonald's had expanded out into Ireland. Now, McDonald's took issue with Supermac using the word Mac on their menu for different sandwiches. So they went to the court of Ireland, and the court found that McDonald's wasn't protecting the term Mac with regards to any sandwiches other than burgers. So they could use Mac for a fish sandwich or chicken sandwich, but they couldn't use it any longer for their burger, which they had been calling the Mighty Mac. So you could go there now and order a big chicken Mac or a big fish Mac. Sounds like Big Fish Smack. Now, over the years, McDonald's has had some variations on the Big Mac, including the Little Mac. Wasn't he from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? As well as the Double Big Mac, or it's also known as the Big Big Mac. In Japan, they have the Giga Big Mac. Over at the Japanese Burger King, they once had a Windows 7 Whopper to promote Windows 7, and it had 7 beef patties on it. And in Thailand, Burger King has a real cheese burger, which is just 20 slices of cheese. This is the kind of thing you see on Facebook, and then when you click in the comments, even though it says it's in Thailand, every comment says, America. It's a real cheese burger. Speaking of cheese, shout out to Cheese God and Michael and Jessica and Awkward But Awesome and Chris Nevlin, all on Patreon. If you go over and support me on Patreon for just $3, I'll send you a postcard every month. I'll write on the back, I'll put your address, I'll put a stamp on it and throw it in the mail. So go ahead and sign up. I find the history of these sandwiches so interesting. I just love that, there's such a competitiveness between the different places, and that really, in the end, you can kind of rip off any of it. I mean, you could just cook it the same way, or stack the meat the same way, put the same toppings on. Basically, you're going to be making the same burger. So it's kind of interesting how the brand name is so important, and Burger Chef being number 2 back then and then being completely wiped out and off the face of this earth by 1995 is fascinating to me. That Sarah Michelle Gellar story just always was interesting to me. Just the idea of McDonald's just suing this little girl. I love also fast food lawsuits. There's a very good one that I found absolutely fascinating. Burger King did a commercial and Mr. Rogers sued them. This is a crazy story. I thought when I heard this, I was like, Mr. Rogers, I bet that's the first time he ever sued anyone. Then I started looking. He sued a lot of people. And so I kind of put together all the Fred Rogers lawsuits, put them all in a video that you can watch up here. Otherwise, this is the one that YouTube says is best for you. And I've got a second channel now. I put a vlog up there showing what I saw when I was in Raleigh and Columbus recently. So if you want to see that, you can click there. And I'll see you next time.